Hey guys, I'm Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop, and I haven't always been a scrappy quilter, but today I'm going to give you some tips if you want to try scrappy. I used to just sew with one fabric collection throughout the whole quilt. Now I still do that, but I'm going to show you how you can get comfortable using your leftovers for a scrap quilt. Today we're going to work on the Threadbare pattern by Camille Ross Kelly, and I picked it because you only need 64 5-inch squares for your scraps. And then I picked the same spool top and spool background. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to pick 64 scrappy fabrics from different fabric designers and make the quilt look beautiful. Before we start, subscribe if you like quilty videos like this, and join me every Friday for my live streams to see what we're doing at Fat Quarter Shop. So to start, what I did is I made 4 blocks just to make sure I liked my background and my spool top. For my 5-inch square, I'm going to go with one color with a white. So I've got a pink and a white, a blue and a white, red and white, and green and white. And that is what's going to keep it consistent throughout the entire quilt. And we need 64 squares that are 5 inches. So these I've already cut down to 5 inches, and I have 2 bins I can pull from, a 5.5-inch square and a 6.5-inch square. And obviously those would need to be trimmed down to 5 inches, but my goal here is to pick 64 prints. So I've got 4, now I need 60. And I'm gonna just talk about how to pick the colors first. So this one would work because it's pink and white. This one might work. It's also red and white, blue and white, peach and white. And I'm just gonna kind of lay them out, and at some point I'll start pulling back. These all look like they work, and I had selected these before from my scraps, and I knew they kind of worked. Now this one won't work because of the spool top, so that goes away. So I knew these worked. This one doesn't work. I'm gonna start with my 5.5-inch square bucket and go through and show you what I think works and what doesn't. Hopefully I'll have a lot to choose from. And so you're gonna see a mix of designers from Lori Holt, Camille Ross Kelly, Fig Tree, Minnick & Simpson, Corey Yoder. You're gonna see all kinds of designers in here. So that definitely would work because it's got 2 colors. That would work, 2 colors. Okay, this is too busy. So if you put that in there, it's just gonna make your eye go too much. So this is gonna go away. This I wouldn't pick because it's got 3 colors. It's got green, white, and black. And so this is gonna be my stack of no's. This one would work, this would not. These might work. These are gonna be maybes. I'm gonna put those over there as maybes because they don't have a white in them. This would be great. So we're just gonna kind of go through anything that's got, you know, a lot going on. I'm not gonna use because it's gonna become too busy, and keeping it 2 colors is gonna look really nice. And then I just kind of place it here. I think that's just too dark. And that's why it's good to just do a couple blocks first to see what you think. And I think this is too big of a scale. Also, I guess I should talk about scale. I think you should pick things that are small scale. And this is a little big. It's a little big compared to the daintiness of the other. So I'm gonna pull this one out. And I'm so basically here I'm just auditioning to see. Obviously that wouldn't work because it would be next to the background. This would be perfect because it's just small. That is a little big scale compared to the others. And you can do the quilt however you want. I just kind of decided when I made these, let me just go with tonal. I know I have a lot of prints like this. This would look cute, but like I said, it's got too many colors. And so a lot of times I get questions of, you know, how do you pick fabrics? This is exactly how. Just sitting, taking your time, weeding through it, making a yes, no, maybe stack. And of course you could pick all large scale prints, all busy prints. You can pick whatever, but to start, I thought doing something scrappy that has just 2 colors would get you started going the right direction. And these are buckets that I started. Now this wouldn't work because it's too gray. These are buckets I started probably 2 years ago. Now this orange No, it sticks out. If you only have one orange, one color, it's gonna stick out. So my buckets, I started about 2 years ago. I got the idea from Lori Holt, and these are just leftovers from my projects that I've done over the last 2 years. They're great for things like this. They're great if you're trying to finish a quilt and you just need a little square. That obviously won't work. So this is a great way to use up those bins if you haven't used the bins, if you haven't started using your scraps from your bins. Now, these need to be 5 inches, they're 5.5. But I just need to pick enough, and then once I finalize, I will trim them down once I decide if they're gonna be final. I'm not gonna trim down until then. And then also color, we're gonna want a variety of color, but we're not gonna want too many navies or too many reds or just one color all by itself. And like I said, I'm taking out any backgrounds. These are all backgrounds, or any dark prints, gray prints. Now this is right there. So that's kind of funny. I must have had 2 in my bucket because I did pull from there. So that wouldn't work. Start with at least 1 block made so you have something to compare it to, because just looking at the front of the pattern is not going to give you the same look as actually doing that. And then in my bucket, sometimes if I have a lot of a background, I'll cut more than 1 square. So in this quilt, I am not using duplicates. So each of these, I'm hoping to get 64 different prints. Now, through my buckets, I might not have enough. These are all backgrounds. We'll see how much I have. And if I don't have enough, I'll just wait and add to it through the year. I might have enough to do the full quilt. We won't know until I go through both of my buckets. And the buckets I picked are the ones that are the bigger size. So 5.5 and 6.5. My 4.5 wouldn't work because I do need a 5-inch square. This might be really cute. It's like a little spool. That would be really cute. And so I will go by color in a little bit. So first, let me just lay out all of them. So I'm just gonna go through, and then we'll come back once I have gone through both buckets. Okay, so I've gone through both buckets, and this is kind of what I have. But before I keep going, I'm gonna take these out. I don't think they work. They don't go with my white theory. They don't have enough white. But what I'm gonna do now is go by color, because I don't wanna have too much of one color. Like, I don't wanna have too many reds, too many blues, and obviously I don't have 64. So this is gonna be a project that, you know, I work on throughout the year because I have lots of scraps. So I'm gonna go by color. So I've kind of put my blues, my pinks. I'm just gonna kind of put them all together. And I will, after I get them together, I will start eliminating colors. Like right now, this is way too bright. These two are just way too bright. This one might work. It's too bright. I think it's too bright. I'm gonna take those out. Now I do have to keep in mind that they're not gonna be right next to each other, but sometimes I can just tell that when it gets in the final quilt, it's just going to stick out. This is too busy and it's too light. And I'm also in the process of this making sure I do not have duplicates, because there you go, there's a duplicate. So I'll keep the smaller one and get rid of the bigger one. And these just go right back in my scrap bucket. And you don't want them to all be the same shade, because if you do, your quilt's gonna be boring. So you want kind of a compromise, I guess, without anything sticking out too much. And I might just go with 6 colors. I might go with less. We'll see kind of how it's going. That is way too dark, and this does not have anything near it, so those go away. Peach, oh, duplicate, so I'll take my bigger one out. And I will have a lot of duplicates in my scrap bin because I cut what's left over. I'm gonna take this one out. This one's darker. So on this, it'd probably be cool if I did 6 of one color. So this will be great if I can come up with 6 colors. So here's a duplicate. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the easiest. I'm gonna start with pink because pink is my favorite color. So I'm gonna look at my pinks, and this one sticks out. That one's gonna go away. So I've got 4 pinks. I'm gonna look here, and it is great to have a good shade of greens. You know, you don't want to have them all the same color. But what I'm gonna do here is just kind of go and color, you know, light, medium, dark, and kind of see what I think. This one is sticking out, so that goes away. Because if it sticks out on your table, it's gonna stick out on your quilt. This is looking way too dark compared to the rest of the table. I think those 4 are good with that. Yeah, I even think this is too busy. I'm gonna pull that out for now. So I've got those 2. So you can see kind of how they're very calm. They're the same color family. I'm so surprised I don't have more blues. So here, I think these 2 are the wrong shade. So those go away. Now, of course, I could use all of these fabrics and get a totally different look. I'm just kind of going for a look. This one's a little too busy, so that's got to go away. It's going to stick out. Here's some aquas. This one sticks out, but I think these are good. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of 5. Okay, so blues. This one's so cute. I have to leave it in there because it's just too cute to not leave in there. So I just have to leave it. These 2 are too country. I don't think they fit well, they might. I think just laying them down, you can see. Yeah, that's really dark. So let me keep thinking. I love these 2. And I think I'm gonna leave peach out because I've already got 2 pinks. This might be too much. So I think that's a good way to go. Now I need to weed out some of these navies. So these 2 gotta go because these are too busy. Do I wanna go this way where it's calm, or do I wanna go this way? So I'm going to, this is kind of my start. I'm gonna go to a design board and start laying these out and see how they look, and then I can pull what I don't want out. And just remember, this is just the start of a quilt. This is all about how to pick colors, how to pick what you think is good, and don't ever be afraid if you sew a block and you don't like it. Don't put it in your quilt. Maybe put it on the back of your quilt as a label, or make it a gift for somebody. Because if you don't like it when you sew it, you're not going to like it in your quilt. Ask me how I know. Okay, so let's go to our design board. And at my design board, you're just going to see me moving fabrics around. And then when I'm done moving them around, I'll talk through my method. So you can see I went ahead and laid them out, and you can see how the colors are looking. I took some out because the shades weren't right. Like the yellow was too light, the blue fought the aqua, and this navy is just too dark. So this is my start to my quilt. I'll take all of these squares and cut them down to 5 inches and start building my blocks. So you saw all my fabric placement. I ended up with 16 prints that I loved. So I'm gonna sew those into blocks, and you can join me every Friday, and you will see updates on the Threadbare blocks all throughout 2023. And when I have 64 blocks, I'll sew it up into a quilt. And if you wanna join me in this scrappy event, just pick up the Threadbare pattern at Fat Quarter Shop, subscribe to our channel for more scrappy quilts, and I'll see you next time.